Afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for participating in this afternoon's President's Campus Report. Introducing your president, Becky Rowley. Take it away, Becky.
Thanks, Todd. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me for a little bit so we can kind of, have some updates, have a chance for questions, and just kind of have a last time to come together like this before we head into the graduation week and all that fun stuff. So I want to begin by thanking the HR team and the foundation and recognition ceremony yesterday. There was, I thought, really nice attendance. It's always nice to get together when you get to recognize people. And, I was sitting there wondering if we could calculate, I could calculate in my head how many years of experience there were honored yesterday, but it was a whole lot. So again, thank you all for being there and for sharing your time with us and everything, and for all the work that you do. So just a few updates that I'd like to do this afternoon. First of all, I want to talk for a few minutes about the budget. Last week, our governing board passed our budget, which is actually due on May the 1st. I saw the submission that Amy sent in, so we made it with time to spare. So congratulations to Amy and Veronica for all their work on getting that done. It's a thing, let me just tell you. So the main things about the budget that I kind of want to make sure everybody knows, we did send out a written communication, but I wanted to follow that up with a little bit of a discussion about that. So the governing board passed a 4% compensation increase. The governor and the legislature passed and the governor signed off on a 3% compensation increase for all state employees, including higher education employees. And it was everybody gets it. Sometimes they do raises as average, so that some people we can do different things with the money. But lately they've been doing it to where they want the raise to be consistent across all of the ranks. And so we worked on that, and the union is still negotiating for their compensation, but for everyone else, we have approved a 4% raise. So that's great. I know that it may not seem like as much as we've gotten in the last few years. Inflation continues to be an issue. And so I do want to remind everybody that we are doing a compensation study. Donna and John Apodaca just executed the contract a few days ago. And so the real work does begin now. It takes approximately 16 weeks, I hear. I've never done this. And then we will have information from peer colleges around the state. And peer colleges, of course, would be two-year colleges. And also, I would imagine that they'll probably look at the state of New Mexico as a significant comparable institution within the city of Santa Fe. I don't know that for a fact. That's just my guess. So, but we will have a lot of, it'll be a thorough study. And so as the governing board was working on the budget, and we had discussions about the budget and what we could really, in good conscience, do for compensation, the governing board was really clear that they wanted to see the results of the compensation study. And so when that's finished, then we'll be looking at what sorts of additional increases we can and should do. My own feeling is that we should try to be as aggressive as we can, and so I will make that clear. But I also know that we need to be responsible, and that, of course, any kind of compensation is something that's recurring. And then also that we make a commitment to, if we can't do everything at once, which is quite possible, that we have a really structured plan to where we can implement as much increase as we can. So that's how the compensation study and the budget are kind of intertwined on this issue. The other thing that I want to mention in terms of compensation is that we also, the governing board approved a plan that really, I would say, Amy Van Haas and Veronica Gonzalez came up with. And this was to look at the college paying more of the insurance costs for employees. So right now we have a structured approach to paying insurance where, depending upon how much you make, the college pays either 60, 70, or 80% of your health insurance. And our insurance carrier, NIMSIA, is going to raise our rates by a little over 15%, it appears. And I believe that goes into effect in September for October. I think that's right. So that's a lot. And if you're someone who takes a family plan, it's really a lot. So what we've done is we will start paying, instead of 60, 70, and 80, we will start paying 70, 80, and 90% of employee health insurance, so that people have more in their check. So it'll have more of an impact on take-home pay than really another percent increase would. So that I am really pleased that we're able to do. And then I just keep hoping that insurance will not continue to skyrocket like that. We've been sort of lucky, but this was big. And then they also are increasing our risk insurance by 30-something%. So it's hitting everybody. And then the other thing that I want to mention about the budget, there were quite a lot of budget requests this year. And I'm happy to say that we were able to fund all of those. I want to commend everyone for very thoughtful approaches to requesting for budget increases, and not just like, hey, we might as well, you can't get it if you don't ask for it. That is true. But I appreciate the really responsible approaches and asking for increases in areas where we really do need to increase capacity for various reasons, or really kind of move ahead in some technology areas. So thank you again for doing that. The next thing I want to talk about for just a second is our strategic plan. The next.
Hey, Becky.
Plan. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I see Amy Van Haas raised a hand. Did you want to chime in?
Me? Go ahead, Amy.
Add further clarification as people get excited. So on the budget request, yes, we were able to fund all the requests in one way or another. But on some of them, we will be reaching out to the various groups that submitted submissions to let them know when they would be able to utilize those funds. Some of the funds will not be available to July 1st. And then on some of them, we actually found a way to do it actually within this fiscal year. So they'll get some information on that. So give us just a little bit longer to finish putting all the bows on everything, but we will be reaching out to the various departments and letting them know how that is working. There's a lot of, one part is done and now.
I think you muted yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You saw my hands, they were right here.
I don't know. I didn't mute you.
So one part, what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, where did I get dropped off at?
No, at one part. So you were talking, you said one part. Yeah.
Oh, so we got one part of the budget is done now. It's submitted to the state, but now we've got to do all this busy work to get the loads ready, and we are frantically working on that. And we will be testing next week on getting the new loads into the system. So you may actually see the new budget for fiscal year 24 in the system before the end of May for sure, but it actually might be sometime next week. So we're working on that. And then yeah, the big thing is just give us a little bit of time. We'll reach out to you and we'll get everything coordinated with you. So it's very exciting. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And Amy was very, clear and helpful in directing us that, this is something that we could use capital funds for, which we might have already had, or in some cases we looked at grant funding that we knew was available for certain things. And so, yes, everything will be covered, but and you don't have to cover it yourself, but it may not be exactly from the budget request line like that. So
exactly.
thank you.
Yeah, we had a lot of one-time requests, and those were for us this year were a little bit easier to deal with too. So that's why we're going to be able to do some of those start in this year too. So anyway, thank you everyone. Cheers.
Thank you. And thank you again for all of your work with all of us. We spent hours and 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 hours with Amy and Veronica and going through this and that. And then also in your time for explaining things to the board and going through various scenarios with the board, because I feel like everybody understood what was going on and what we were all in essence agreeing to. So thank you.
Well, thank you. It was a great team effort, and also a huge thanks to Veronica. Wouldn't have been anywhere close so smooth if Veronica hadn't been able to join us. So I'm so grateful. So thank you, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks.
Thanks, Amy. Becky, it sounded like you were going into strategic planning.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So the strategic plan, the new strategic plan, this week, was it 2 days ago? Yesterday? Anyway, Tuesday at executive team, Yash unveiled we talked about the timeline for the new strategic plan. So we will be putting together a group to work on the strategic plan. There will be a couple of board members who are involved. I've already spoken with both of them, and they're excited to be part of this. And looking at and how we're going to what we're going to do for the next 5 years, basically. One thing I will say about what my intent is for the next 5 years is that I would really, really like to see us focusing the majority of our efforts on completion. And that is a broad goal. And by that, I mean student completion. Graduation rates are a part of it, but certainly not the only part of it. Certificate completion, and also even completion of courses throughout the semester. So our funding from the state is actually primarily derived from the number of students who actually complete courses, not the number of students who enroll in courses. So it used to be, as long as you were in there and we got you in the first couple of weeks, that it really didn't matter what happened after that. But now we don't get any sort of credit for that or any funding unless you actually complete the course. So that is a really good thing. But everybody's numbers have slipped somewhat post-pandemic. That's to be expected, but that is not something that we can continue to say, well, the pandemic, and so we've got issues now. Our enrollment is coming back. We have more financial assistance from the state for our students, so we are in the best position really to start reigniting our efforts on completion. And so that means that's our broad goal, and a lot of the plans, the sub elements of our plan will be things that are focused on completion. So how do we move the needle on completion? And one thing I want to make clear, from my perspective, this is not just about numbers. So, we start out with a 19% graduation rate, we get it up to 35 or something like that. That's exciting. It's not about the number. It's about actually having more students who complete whatever they came here to do. That means that there are more people in our community who are able to go and to fill workforce needs that we have in critical areas that we've had a hard time, frankly, trying to fill a lot of those needs. And so one of the first things that I'm hoping that we can look at is eliminating some of the barriers that our students face right now. Some of those barriers are things that we have put up ourselves, and some of those are barriers that our students just face living in the 21st century and in an economy that's kind of difficult, in a community that has pretty high housing costs. And so we will be looking at at different kinds of services that we can kind of amp up what we're doing for our students. We've talked about looking at transportation, looking at not just looking at, but actually starting hopefully in the fall, dropping
Becky, you're muted. I think you got muted somehow.
How did I mute myself? I don't know.
Well, it could have been somebody muting you. We'll see.
Yeah, it could have been because I see what you're saying, Amy. Anyway, but also looking at a lot of the barriers to completion that we have in terms of programs that maybe have requirements that we don't need anymore, maybe prerequisites that are not matching up with what prerequisites our competitors, because that's what they are doing, but things that are probably forcing our students to choose other options besides Santa Fe Community College, or at least if they start Santa Fe Community College, they don't finish at Santa Fe Community College. So these are big goals. This is multiple projects that will take multiple years to complete, but I want to kind of put that out there so we can all start thinking about how we might approach that, what we see in our own areas that might be barriers to student completion, and how we can change that. You all heard me say many times, these are academic matters, but they're also non-academic matters, because student support is an all-encompassing thing, and all departments have a role to play in student support. And so there will be really important work for everybody to really complete. One of the things that, we can also look at is, benchmarking our data against really starting with the other colleges in our state. Those are the people that we're primarily measured against in terms of the way the legislature views us, and then also even other national associations that have things to do with accrediting and funding us. But looking at how our data matches up to theirs. And yes, we're all different, and we say that every day, and there was a whole lot of truth to that. But I think that, we're at the point where we really need to be looking at what we're doing to sort of stand in the way of our own success and of our student success. So that will be starting that after the end of the semester, and having some meetings to kind of kick that off. The governing board is going to have a retreat on, I believe it's June 19th that we settled on. And so I'll be talking to them more about that, and getting a little bit of direction and involvement for them. And then, we'll go forward and, kind of start some of the planning part over the summer. Another project that will be inevitably part of our strategic plan, but also something that there's been a lot of chatter about on campus recently, and I think a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, like, what is this all about, and what are we supposed to do here? And also a lot of excitement looking at all the new possibilities that we have. And that is Santa Fe Community College's approach to how we're going to implement in different ways. We already use it, all over the place, artificial intelligence. And, there are some obvious academic impacts, I would say. I'm sure most people who teach have already seen students using this. And so there's a lot of sorting out to do in terms of what are legitimate uses, what are not legitimate uses, what we should be doing, what we should not be doing, and what the expectations are from our students. Because one of the things that I think struggle with the most is that we have all these students and all these programs that are coming to us to be educated, to be trained to go into the workforce. And the workforce now is expecting a certain level of literacy with artificial intelligence. And so we want to make sure that we're offering that to our students, and that they come out of Santa Fe Community College really ready to join the workforce, to interact, to function at a really high level, and to be able to kind of climb through the ranks if that's what they choose to do. And so I know that I want to thank, especially, first of all, our library for the work that they have done to sort of marshal us all in a direction to start with. And so thank you to Val Nye and to Sarah Hood, especially for talking to me and helping me, come to grips a little bit better. But in convening meetings and having conversations to start the ball rolling. So there is a committee that has emerged. There are faculty on this committee. There will be other people from various disciplines that are on this committee to really talk about where we are and where we should be. I have actually, I know there's professional development in the works that I'm thrilled to see and to hear about. That is a critical piece of all of this. But, you know, we're not going to all have the same response, and I think that's fine. But we all need to have a response, and it needs to be a thoughtful and relevant response so that we're really doing the best that we can for our students and for the college as a whole, and in figuring out where we go from here with this, and how this fits into our policies and our practices. So I know there's a template around for syllabi design for this, and that we're doing, I think we're doing an admirable job in being at the point where we are. You can point to a million colleges that are ahead of us, and a whole lot that are not nearly as that are way behind us. Everybody says that they're behind, even if they're, you know, really kind of doing a lot. So I think that acknowledging that this is kind of the next big thing. It's not a fad. It's not a phase. It is something that is going to be, by most accounts, a complete game changer for how we offer instruction, how our students produce things, and how we ourselves work. And you know, we'll move through it. You know, when Dr. Lopez was briefing executive team the other day about what he'd heard at HLC about this, and was talking about how the HLC president showed everyone how she uses it in her daily work. I mean, it's just an indicator that this is something that is being really normalized very quickly, and it is kind of frightening to think that it could really revolutionize the way we teach many things that we teach. And so we want to be part of that and not get dragged along behind that. So again, and I want to thank also Joseph Clemens for his work on this too, because I know he's been working with the library a lot. And I know that the English department, chaired by Kate McCahill, has also been working on this quite a bit. So I'm really, really pleased to see that we're engaging with it and have a lot of good plans to move ahead. So with that, I want to just tell you all that I feel like we've had a very successful semester. We've gotten a lot done this semester. I feel like our students have received the best of us. And, you know, this is the time of the semester where everybody feels like, you know, graduation can't come quickly enough. And yet at the same time, it's a proud moment for everyone in terms of watching students complete and seeing how excited they are, hearing about their plans as they take the next step, and helping them in any way that we can to be able to move forward and do the next great thing that's on their horizon. So I want to remind everyone that graduation is on May 11th, which is a Saturday, at the fitness center at, is it 10 o'clock? Somebody will tell me what time to get there.
10.
I think we say get there at 9, but it really starts at 10. And then also to remind you that the high school equivalency graduation is on May 14th, the following week. You know, lots of things. The nurses pinning is next Thursday. Lots and lots of convocation type things that are being set up. So please come out, support our students, support our faculty and staff. I can't tell you all how much I appreciate what you're doing. It is hard work. I mean, it really is. It's hard to work in the midst of constant change. It's hard to work with a lot of people who are always, you know, have high needs and are expecting a lot from you. There's a lot of federal regulation that changes all the time, and it's important that we are doing the absolute best that we can. But as always, I'm here to help. So if there's anything that we're not doing that you think we could be doing and should be doing, please let me know. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions if I have the answers. Otherwise, I'll ask Amy again.
Val. Thanks for your patience with your virtual hand.
But I was thinking, I did want to thank you, Becky, for bringing AI to the forefront on our campus, and really look forward to having these conversations moving forward.
Thanks, Val, and I really appreciate all the work that you all have done. And, you know, for anyone who's interested, the library has curated a list of resources on AI. So if you want to, you know, sit down and you know, you can play around with the tool if you want to, but you can also, you know, there's a lot to read out there about policy, practice, ethics, all that kind of business. So thank you.
Cookie.
Yeah, on that AI process, do you all have a goal in mind, like a date that you're shooting for to have policy and procedures in place for AI?
I don't think I mean, I don't have a date in mind. You know, I know people are using it now, which is great. But I think that we want to talk to each other a little bit more and have more of a collaborative approach so that, you know, people who don't know as much about it or feel a little bit more uncomfortable can learn from other people, and who maybe have jumped off a little bit more quickly, and you know, and have as much of an institutional response as we can. So one of the things that I've been listening to Sarah and Val about, and also just sort of paying attention in general, maybe a little bit more than I was, but that it's really hard to have a policy that fits everybody in terms of, you know, how we regard AI. I've seen colleges that have jumped into this really quickly, and then they're kind of backing off and like, oh, well, we didn't think about that, or we didn't know about that. So I'd rather be aware, be working on this, but feel like we're creating policies and procedures that are in step with where we are, and create spaces for people to really learn more about it and what it can do, you know, in a collegiate way, in a way that where we don't feel threatened. But we need to start. So if you're asking me when we should be, you know, like worrying about this, I would say right now. And looking at how, you know, we can all use it. I had a couple of minutes this afternoon, and so I thought, you know, I was thinking about tweaking my graduation response. And so I looked to see what ChatGPT came up with, and it might have been better than mine. Sure. So it is kind of unnerving.
Yeah, right.
When you see things like that.
Yeah, no, I get it. But, you know, again, my response to that, you know, and I'm looking at other community colleges and what we do over here versus what everybody has. And I'm definitely on board with AI, but with caution.
Right.
And again, this is my opinion, but, so I'm very very aware of what it can and cannot do, but I also don't want it to rob the students of their thought processes and their ideas and let this thing take over. And then, you know, but it's kind of hard over in my area. But I just want to make sure our students are getting the learning, but they learn how to think on their own 2 feet as well as we begin to put them out to the workforce. And that's just mine.
I think that that's a really important thing that, you know, we'll have to see sort of how that evolves. I mean, as a person who used to teach English composition, I find it like hard to predict in some ways, like what this will look like. And you know, the other side of that is, so if I can go into a job, what is the expectation in an employment situation? Because I don't mean to be crass about this and make it seem like, you know, all we care about is, you know, what people do in their job. But if we're really insistent that, you know, everything that, you know, either we don't use very much and things like that, but then people go into a work situation and they're asked to write letters, write you know, copy for different kinds of things, and it can often be AI generated, then, I mean, what does that mean for what we're expected to do? I do not have the answer to that. And I think it's a really, it's a serious question, and it's kind of a scary question. But, you know, I think I've told a bunch of you that, you know, I've watched how quickly this has become absorbed into the culture. My nephew is he's a junior, I think, but he's a finance major. And he said that when it first came out, this was maybe a year and a half ago or something, he was all worried about it and asked me about if I knew about it, what I thought. And he said he thought it was really scary. And all of his professors said, you know, this is evil, don't do it, whatever. And he told me that now he's required to use it in every single one of his classes. And I don't know what finance majors do with it. I don't really know what they do anyway. But that just tells you that it's out there, and it's a big part of their, you know, they're not saying just write your paper this way, but they're saying, look at how this tool can be used in this setting. And so when he has a job in that setting, he will be expected to know how to do that. And that's where I'm really concerned that we make sure our students are ready. But that also kind of, I think it does spill over into that question that you posed, Cookie, about what does that mean for, you know, how well students think? Or, you know, we've talked about critical thinking, teaching critical thinking, prioritizing critical thinking for decades now. And, you know, how do you teach critical thinking and those kinds of things? And we evaluate critical thinking when we look at essays and everything. So it's a complicated thing that will evolve.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
It was a much longer answer than you probably needed.
No, that's okay. No, it's good, because it's, to me, I think about it all the time and it worries me, but I think it can be useful as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I was going through my Microsoft Teams backgrounds to see, and it's weird in there. I've never done that. The blurry and all that's always just been my default. And there's a lot of strange options. Oh, Laura Smith, but let's bring you in here. But I have a quick thing I'm going to go through here. I changed my background so that I can show you. I'm going to share my screen and share a little file with everyone here today on how to incorporate our 40th anniversary logo.
Is that
into your Teams. Yeah, and I'm unveiling it behind me today. It was crafted by the fine folks at Minecraft.
I love it.
And so my inner 9-year-old boy is happy. But what I'm going to do here is share my screen briefly. Share my whole deal. Oh, let's see if it's going to allow me to do this. Hang tight. Okay. All right. All of you have in this more section, video effects and settings. And I'm going to show you first, so don't do anything quite yet. And then if you open that, there's this little button here that will say add new. If you click on that add new button and you find the file that I'm about to share you, I saved mine on my desktop. It'll add a file. Then you can hit the preview button. It'll show it backwards, which is disorienting, but it's okay. And then I can apply my video, or apply it and turn on video. And then I get a nice little 40, and hopefully that is oriented the right way.
It is.
And so we'll be sharing this in various formats. You'll be seeing this coming around. Some of our banners are rolling out. A big shout out to our facilities and plant who are installing some banners that we can expect to see around campus ahead of the graduation or our commencement ceremony. And also we'll be sharing in terms of like email signatures and just other ways that you may want to use. Just so that's happening. We're really proud of it. And if you give me a second here, I'll paste this actual file into the chat. And this should be sized just to replicate what you're seeing here. And there'll be other ways to express that, of course, as we move forward. So thank you for letting me share that. And now Laura Smith, I see you.
Yeah, hi. Back when Becky got accidentally muted, she was right in the middle of a sentence where it almost sounded like you were saying that in the fall there might be drop-in childcare, or did I have an auditory hallucination there? Because you got cut off right after drop-in.
You did not. So, so first of all, yeah, so there people like Catherine Allward are probably sitting there going, what in the world are you talking about? So what, we've been talking about doing drop-in childcare, and it was actually, the library that first brought this to my attention, that this was something that we needed since I got here. So we've, scouted spaces, have some funding available and everything, but we're trying to figure out what we really need. And so, where I've seen this implemented successfully recently is at Santa Fe Public Schools. So they're doing a good job with this. So they know the schedules of, their teachers, their personnel. And so it's easier to arrange for drop-in daycare because it's not, we're not having to cover like this huge swath of time. So we are going to, start a pilot of this. The plan is to do this in the fall and then see how we can expand it. But yeah, it's a need. So, we have Kids Campus. It's a fantastic institution. It has, I don't know, I keep hearing between 600 and 700 people on a waiting list. So obviously everybody who needs that is not getting it. And the other thing is, sometimes people just need like an hour or two of daycare, or, like a little bit in the evening, or for somebody, a kid that can't stay alone or shouldn't stay alone, but, they can't go to Kids Campus. And so those are the options that we're trying to incorporate in that. So yeah, I'm not sure how extensive it will be in the fall, but the plan is to really have a pilot that's going in the fall and then continuously assess the need as we're figuring out how to expand.
Cool. That is very, very exciting. Thank you for elaborating on that.
Sure. Thanks for asking.
I did see a chat, Lanisha. Becky, who is going to bottom line the drop in childcare work. Do you want to expand on that? We have seen demands for parents who are coming in for counseling down in the wellness center. Do you mind coming aboard here, Lanisha?
Yeah.
Sorry there, I'm muting. So I think I was just really curious about if it's not going to be with Kids Campus, like which area is going to cover it.
An area that we don't have yet. So don't worry. We thought the wellness center would do it.
Hey, you never know. We're expanding.
Well, yeah. So, as we've looked at, so when I say not the Kids Campus, I mean that it doesn't have to be under the same rules and everything as Kids Campus. There are different kinds of regulations for drop-in daycare than for the really, top-notch 5-star daycare that we provide and, you know, with a real curriculum at Kids Campus. And so that will, you know, there are people that have been working on this and know way more about it than I do. So, you know, we'll be getting information out as we, you know, move along with this. We will start small. I mean, there's no way that we're going to just like, you know, open the doors, because I think even though no one can say for sure what the need really is, I think the more that we've had students on campus, the more that my guess is going to be that the need is probably higher than what we think it is.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update, President Rowley. Appreciate that. And one quick thing, the Greenfire Times is a publication, a print and online, and they just did basically like a takeover with the trades and advanced technology crew, contributing an incredible amount of writing and photos and work. So I just encourage everybody to go see all the really great work that they did there.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I mean, the whole thing is about them pretty much. It's great.
And well, if there are no other additions, let's call it a meeting. And we'll see everyone around. Becky, you want to take it away?
All right. Thank you, Todd. Again, I just want to thank everybody for your hard work during this semester and really every semester. But it's always nice to wrap up a semester and watch our students as they head off, as I said. So thank you all for what you do, and I hope everybody has a great ending to your semester.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Have a good afternoon.